Hi, Bianca. This is Bianca Belair, the newest WWE SmackDown Women's Champion, crowned last month at WrestleMania after defeating Sasha Banks in the first all-black marquee women's event. Welcome very much. Welcome. So I'm so glad we saw you a little bit earlier, and you did not have your signature braid coming in, so I was a little bit concerned that people would not be able to recognize you, but I'm glad that you had some time to get yourself there. I mean, I don't blame you. I'm sure that it's a little difficult to do normal things like go to Trader Joe's or something with a 6-foot long braid ponytail.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I have to, figure out how to move in the ring with it. And I try to keep it up as much as possible because even like bending down in time, my shoe can get in the way sometimes.
Yeah, like I said, I can't imagine you like pumping gas. Being like, what do I do with this right now? Anyway, thanks for being here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit though about capitalizing on opportunity, which I feel like really kind of sums up your career path at this point. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you were not born with a 6-foot long braid and a 6-pack. So I was wondering, what were your aspirations growing up?
Yeah, for me, I've actually been in sports almost my whole entire life. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I remember going to a sports banquet that my brother was in. He played football. He got a trophy. And I looked at my mom and I'm like, I want a trophy. And it was just a room full of guys, and it was a football banquet, and they all got a trophy. And in a room full of guys, I still said, I want to do that. I want a trophy just like my brother. So my mom was like, well, then, let's put you into sports. And so they put me into gymnastics and tumbling. I did that around the age of 5 or 6. And I started running track around the age of 5. And it kind of just took off from there. I got into sports because my brother was into it. And then I met my best friend when I ran track and field. And I've just played sports my whole life. And it's really elevated my life and gotten me to where I am now here today. And I went and ran track in college, which is what I really did. Majority of my life was I was a track athlete. I was an All-American, All-SEC hurdler at the University of Tennessee. And afterwards I did CrossFit and powerlifting, and that's kind of how it got me into WWE, becoming a wrestler. So I've been an athlete my whole entire life.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little reading on your background, and it seems like the CrossFit, you go from track. Did you have bigger aspirations for track, or did you feel like track had taken you as far as it was going to take you?
No, my whole entire life, I wanted to be an Olympic track athlete. Like my role model growing up was FloJo and Gail Devers. And I became a hurdler because of Gail Devers. One of my other role models was Dominique Dawes, which was why I became a tumbler and a gymnast. But I specifically wanted to be an Olympic hurdler. And so when I went to the University of Tennessee, I actually ran track in college for 6 years, which is very unique because most collegiate athletes only get 5 years. But I had a year where I got very depressed and I had eating disorders, and they granted me an extra year. And so I kind of felt like I kind of accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish, and I felt like I felt peace, and I felt like I was ready to close that door and figure out more opportunities. And that's why I discovered CrossFit and powerlifting. And then it brought me into WWE, which I never knew that this was my dream until it became my reality. So everything basically led up to where I am now, and it all makes sense now.
Yeah, so let's give our viewers a little context of just exactly how you did go from a CrossFit athlete or even like a track and field athlete into WWE superstar.
Yeah, so I was doing CrossFit, and I used to make my own outfits. I would wear these big old bows and tutus and sequins and glitter. So I really stood out when I did CrossFit. And Mark Henry, he is a Hall of Famer for WWE now. He saw me on a sports blog, and he contacted me. He was like, hey, you have everything that it takes. You have the look, you have the charisma, you have the athleticism. You're talking on the microphone in front of people. Have you ever thought of being a WWE wrestler? And Ironically, like maybe a month or so before that, I was actually talking to my mom about trying to figure out how to enter my information online for a tryout. And so I was like, this is either too good to be true or it all makes sense. And he told me I can get you a tryout, but that's all I can do. You have to do the rest of the work. You have to get them to like you. You have to get them to hire you. And, I kind of just I learned my lesson in that moment of waiting on validation from other people, because if I wouldn't have gotten that validation from him, I may have not pursued this dream. And this is actually what I'm meant to do. So that's really how I got to WWE. It's just Mark Henry discovering me and offering me an opportunity and taking that opportunity and capitalizing on it.
Now, I know that now that you find yourself at the top of the WWE, what do you hope to do with your opportunity that you have here? What kind of, I know that empowering girls and women through sports is really important to you. What sort of message do you want your career to send and inspire?
Well, I just want to put out the message that, everything that Bianca Belair is about is shining as bright as you possibly can, never dimming your light for anyone. I call myself the EST of WWE, which means that I'm the strongest, I'm the fastest, I'm the roughest, I'm the toughest, I'm the quickest, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. And everyone has an EST within themselves. And once you figure out your EST, you figure out your talent, go all in with it. Never feel shy about showing your talent and being proud of it. And that's exactly, and I'm just so fortunate to be in WWE where I am right now, because as a woman, we have so many amazing opportunities to showcase our talents. And that happened at WrestleMania in April, April 10th, April 10th, the day after my birthday. It happened at WrestleMania. I main evented WrestleMania with Sasha Banks. It was the first time that two Black women were main eventing and having a title match at WrestleMania. And I became SmackDown Women's Champion at WrestleMania. So I'm just blessed to be in WWE and be on this platform where I can show my talents as a woman of color, and where, I can be representation for other little girls out there. I think about my role models, Dominique Dawes, FloJo, Gail Devers, what they did for me. And I am where I am now because of them. I can use my platform now to be a role model for other little girls, and not just little girls, but everyone out there. Be a role model for them that, just keep moving forward. Keep starting over every single day. Go after your dreams. And that's really what this is all about. I'm SmackDown Women's Champion now, but what means the most to me is impacting people in a positive way and being a representation, especially as a woman. It's so important because, representation is not a request, it's a requirement, and we need it. And it's so important because sometimes it's very hard to be what you can't see. So that's really what I want my legacy to stand for, is to encourage women and little girls to get into sports and showcase your talents and be proud of that and keep pushing forward.
Amen. Looking into the future a little bit, though, we've been talking about capitalizing on opportunity, and I think for WWE stars, part of that is kind of breaking out of that WWE ecosystem and into, household name status. A handful of people have been able to do it, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, John Cena, but, of those three that I just named, they're all men. There are, of course, like the Bella twins and like China back in the day, but what do you think it would take to see a female WWE star break through into like the mainstream, like The Rock, like John Cena? What do you think that what you need to do, WWE needs to do, or what do we as a society need to do to accept something like that to happen?
Yeah, I think that we're here now. The fact that Sasha Banks and we just main evented at WrestleMania on the grandest stage of them all. WrestleMania it's the biggest that you can possibly get. It is mainstream. We were in Raymond James Stadium, the same stadium that the Super Bowl happened in. We had 25,000 fans for the first time since we haven't had our fans, and we finally got to have our fans, and we were on the grandest stage of them all. And before we had the Thunderdome, where we were able to have virtual fans, but we were able to get our fans back inside of the same stadium that the Super Bowl was in. So we're doing that now. We're mainstream, and I just have to keep pushing the message that women, we always show up and we always show out, and we just need those opportunities. because once we get those opportunities, we prove ourselves right because we know what we're capable of, and we're capable of being mainstream and pulling in those numbers and pulling in those eyes to watch us. And, you know, I feel like we're already there when it comes to mainstream, and we just have to continue to do what we're doing and continue to get those opportunities because people want to see us. Even before Sasha Banks and I were, it was announced that we were main event, everyone on social media and Twitter were creating hashtags demanding that we be the main event because they knew that we are mainstream and people want that. And I think that that's evident when you go on social media and everyone is so drawn into women in sports, and that proves that we already are mainstream, and that's why it's so important. I know Katie Daly, it was a couple of maybe 30 minutes ago when she was talking about representation in sports and women in sports, and because we are mainstream and it's so important for us to be representation in the mainstream.